All right, guys, welcome to the escape from electioneering madness. If you want to get away from Trump, Clinton, and rather talk about Marcus Ware, Von Miller, Michael Thomas, Drew Brees, this is the place. Because that's what we're going to do for the next hour here on Under the Dome, home of the Who Dat Nation. I'm your host, Alan Ulrich, with my non-election following partner in crime, Sean Williams. How you doing tonight, Sean?
Doing fantastic, Alan. Man, I watched about 5 minutes of election coverage, and I was going, God, this is on until daylight. It's
absolutely.
Personally speaking, I recognize everybody's right to have their political beliefs and opinions, and I don't argue those. God bless you. This is a very dark time.
I've already said it. I voted, and now it burns when I pee. So we're just going to leave it at that.
I told someone this morning that walking into this is the first time ever that I've voted in a presidential election, and I kind of felt dirty when I walked through the curtain going in, and I felt like I should look up and there should be a sign there that said, "Save us both some time, just go ahead and bend over."
Abandon all hope, all ye who enter here. You're in the ninth circle of hell.
That's true.
Okay, we have a special guest tonight too that we've kept entertained both before we got on the air and now. So let's go ahead and get started.
Right about now, he's sitting there thinking, "What in the hell have I got myself into?" This is a special friend of mine. I've been friends with this guy for better than a year now. We met through ProFootballSpot.com, where we were both writers.
Awesome.
He's a fantasy football guru of sorts. His name is Brandon Sanders. He's a Denver Broncos fan since a very young age, and he comes to us from the coast of North Carolina. Staff writer for Fantasy Footballers, for the Fantasy Footballers podcast, and he's won he's won People's Choice Award and Sports and Recreation Award for the American Podcast Awards for 2016, and is currently the #1 rated fantasy podcast on iTunes. He writes DFS articles known as the Daily Dose every Friday and helps fans try to pick the best lineup possible for their FanDuel rosters. Although we haven't really delved too much into the fantasy football to this point. If you guys have any sort of fantasy football questions that you want us to direct to Brandon, certainly get to us via the live chat on YouTube. Also, before I introduce Brandon, we want to thank our sponsors, Fan First Productions, because without the fans, it's just a game for kids. And you can find us on Facebook on Under the Dome Podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Under the Dome PO1. And on iTunes, Under the Dome Podcast. Without any further ado, we want to welcome in Brandon Sanders, Denver Bronco journalist. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on. I love talking some Broncos and some fantasy football, so I'm excited to get started and talk maybe some Saints too. That'd be fun.
Yeah, we might even fit them into the picture too.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm ready.
Well, Brandon, give us a thumbnail sketch on Denver right now, because they started out so well. I mean, you took it to the Carolina Panthers on opening night, and it looked like the offense wasn't going to miss a beat with going from Peyton Manning to Simeon. And it seems like now that once Simeon got injured, and then you had that fill-in where the rookie, his name escapes me for the sec right now, but the rookie came in.
Paxton Lynch.
Thank you, Lynch. I wanted to call him the old safety. That's now the Fox analyst for a while. John Lynch for a while. I knew that wasn't right.
Awesome.
So, but anyway, when Lynch came in, the team seemed to struggle. And then since Simeon's been back, it seems like he's just not the same quarterback he was prior to his injury. So kind of give us a breakdown on what's going on with the Broncos offense and also the injuries in the Broncos defense.
Yes, so like you were saying, we took it to the Panthers. We pretty much never skipped a beat, went right into it. Smashed Cam Newton once again, proved the point that, hey, we're still a defense that's to be reckoned with. But recently, the offense has been struggling. Not only is it where the ground game, it's not there. C.J. Anderson with that injury, that really hurt us quite a bit. He was the thumper. Even when he was there, they weren't using it. They were trying to go a little bit more pass. I think they were just trying to challenge Trevor Siemian. They're like, listen, we don't think the kid can pass. He's a game manager. So I think that Kubiak's like, okay, well, we're going to take that and we're going to run with it. So he, started passing with it. We had a good game against Tampa Bay, was able to air it out and kind of prove that point that, hey, Siemian he has the arm not only to go along with that, but with the absence of C.J. Anderson, Devontae Booker, the other rookie, he's done decent, but his yards per carry is really low. It's 2.6. So, he hasn't really proven to be that RB1 that, he was drafted to be and replace, say, if CJ did leave or did sign with another team and go along with it. I am excited about the Capri Bibbs opportunity. That kid, he did really well. He was able to move the football in all yardage. So he catches, he runs. He's from Colorado State, so the great thing about Denver, they're always big on looking for local talent and bringing them up and using them. So definitely Capri Bibbs has an opportunity to really shine against the Saints defense this coming weekend. That's a good opportunity to look at. But really, it's the offensive line. They're not holding up. They're making bad penalty calls. They're holding a lot to the point where we're driving back. So any momentum that we get from a play is now pushed back a little bit further. So that's not very fun. But like I said, CJ being out is the big factor there as well. We just got to really get going. We're being lackadaisical, to be honest with you. So hopefully we can get that ball rolling here this coming weekend.
How about the defense? What's going on with defense as far as injuries? I saw you lost another player this weekend.
Yep.
Are you expecting anyone coming back this week? Aqib Talib, for example, or
Yep.
What's the story on that?
So Aqib Talib, he is day-to-day as far as this morning. Derek Wolfe was the person that got the elbow injury this past weekend against the Raiders. He's day-to-day. They're saying it's not as bad as the previous injury that our wide receiver, Benny Fowler, got in preseason. So he's not too bad off. They're monitoring. There's some swelling, so they might have to drain the elbow and all that fun, nasty stuff. But it's looking like he might be able to wrap it up and be able to go. We could use him. Recently in an interview, Vaughn took it personal against that one. The Raiders and Denver Broncos have a long rivalry that goes way back and lots of personal stuff there. But Vaughn took it upon himself. He is leading the sacks now, so he did take the sack lead last week when he got Derek Carr. He is hoping to try to do that. However, we've seen Drew Brees seems to have a lot of time to pass here recently. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. But here recently, the Saints have really been kicking in with their offense. So we'll see how that plays out. But Vaughn is looking to continue his sack lead. But we do have DeMarcus Ware back. But if we get Wolf back, that'll be good because he's on the defensive end. So we're good there. But we're struggling at cornerback. So to leave day-to-day, our backup Kevon Webster, he is now out for probably the second week. That leaves Chris Harris Jr. And you also got Bradley Roby, who also came from Ohio State. So it's not like we're terrible. We're the number one passing defense in the NFL, which is something to be very proud of. But here recently, just miscues. We've gone to now 25th overall in passing defense, which is not the Denver Broncos recently. So that's something where a little bit worrisome, especially with how Ingram and Hightower are now sharing, and they're bruisers and they like to punish you in the run. So it's definitely something to be concerned of and looking for. So hopefully they'll stop those gaps and stop the bleeding, in the words.
Brandon, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
The prevailing I don't want to call it wisdom, but the mindset of most of the talking heads, at least in this area, is that a game that a month ago looked to be just basically no hope, suddenly they're saying that if the Saints defense can limit Denver to maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of 20-25 points, that they actually stand a really good chance of winning. Do you think there's any validity to that, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I would say even 2 months ago, I looked at the roster and I was like, hey, we got the Saints coming up. They have the 32nd, defense and passing, and if Simeon can get the ball rolling, then we have a really good chance. But like I said, it's been sputtering out. We've been settling for field goals. We're 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. That's not going to cut it against a very high octane now New Orleans Saints with 3 wideout sets with 3 magnificent receivers that can get it done. Kobe Fleener, every once in a while, he'll show his head. Every once in a while, he's either there or he's not. But Denver has a history of not.
You guys are okay. That's like only every 6 games or so.
Yeah, every 6 games. But Fleener does show up, and Denver has been in the past been notorious for not blocking the tight end spot very well. They do well if it's a blocking tight end. If it's a passing tight end, they have trouble. So that's something that we'll have to look at as far as Fleener or Hill if he's playing on as well. So, but yeah, I would say nowadays you never know in the NFL, especially the way Denver's kind of puttering. And I've seen articles where New Orleans is trying to capitalize on Denver trying to figure out where the bleeding is at and try to plug in those holes and go with it. So if the Saints can get out early, they got a good shot of beating us, to be honest with you. And like I said, as a Broncos fan, that's nothing to be too happy about.
Yeah, Denver, I tell you what, Mile High, and I'll still call it Mile High Stadium, even though the original Mile High is long gone.
That's right. It'll always be Mile High.
Yeah, and Vesco Field or whatever they want to call it now, it just isn't right. But anyway, when you play in Denver, not only do you have to deal with the altitude, you have to deal with that crowd.
Yep.
And I enjoy when I'm not watching the Saints play. I enjoy listening to that crowd on third down or whatever. When they throw the pass and it's incomplete, you hear the whole crowd go, "Incomplete!" That thing, and that's just part of the mystique of Denver. Okay. But they're coming to the Superdome now.
Exactly.
So, now you're dealing with 68,000 drunken, crazy people who've been tailgating all day. Now, fortunately, it's a noon kickoff, so they can't be that cranked up. But, I mean, the Superdome has just as much, much noise as the Arrowhead or the old Kingdom in Seattle's field now, Quest Field. And so, how is Denver doing on the road with dealing with crowd noise and that sort of stuff?
Surprisingly, it's been hit or miss, to be honest with you. So Tampa Bay, no worries. I mean, they had to play in the monsoon, but they were able to go in, get the job done, take care of business. On the road, it just really depends. I mean, at home we have that big advantage. We'd have the crowd. we got the third down. The Denver defense is something that we take great pride in. Somewhere we went from 2013 being the best offense in the league and then getting smashed in the Super Bowl, and that was very embarrassing, to John Elway being very serious and making sure that he's paying people to do the defense. So we're very proud of that. The Dome is no joke, and that's something that the past meetings that Denver has struggled with, especially in a dome setting. So that's something that we will take not lightly. I love the Dome. It's very historic. The Saints have a great fan base. I love the Saints and how New Orleans as a community is so big on, making sure they're backing their Saints and make sure that they're filling that Dome every single Sunday. So, Denver's in for I wouldn't say a rude awakening, but they're definitely in for a much louder one. It was different when you had Peyton Manning, who was the sheriff, and he could tell people to literally calm down and shut up, and then everyone would shut up and he'd do his play because it was respect. It was Peyton Manning. You're looking at a future Hall of Famer. a little different. Trevor Siemian, 7th-round pick, trying to make a name for himself, and he's trying to tell everyone to hush. That's not going to happen. The Saints crowd, they're going to get louder. So he's going to have to get his signals correct.
You don't get to hear the Omaha.
No, you don't hear that anymore. You get to hear downset, check, and then whatever color he wants to say, and then they're off to the races, basically. So,
right.
So Trevor Siemian's dad didn't play there.
Right. He did. Yeah, you don't get the respect of the Archie Manning.
No.
Hey, Brandon, I got a question for you on our live chat on YouTube.
Sure.
Someone wants to know, is the right tackle worse than it really is? Because replacement got harassed by Vic Beasley against Atlanta a few weeks ago. Then the normal starting right tackle got harassed by Mack Sunday night.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's a very much one of the positions that we need to look at. We did sign Russell Okung, but Okung, coming from Seattle, was able to get away with a lot more of holding calls, I noticed, especially in the NFC West, just because it was much more of it seems tougher or a little bit more risque as far as the division that was there. But coming over, he's taking these tactics that he picked up in Seattle, and now he's doing it, and it's costing us, and it's costing us penalties.
Yeah.
And he's not getting that advantage.
We don't know anything about that. Getting a player from Seattle who commits a lot of penalties and got away with a lot of stuff. Brandon Browner. Sorry. Yeah.
But he's gone now, right?
Yes, he is.
That question, by the way, that question came from a young man named Matt Ulrich.
Oh, nice,
did it
nice,
now.
nice.
Yeah, did it now.
Nice, Matt. But yes, right tackle, Tyson Brello. He's the local from also Colorado State. He's more development than we thought, and that's something that we need to address, because if the rookie is coming in after the bye, which is a speculation, we'll see how that goes. I think if Siemian plays well this week, then he'll stay the starting one. But as you noticed, like Siemian got his shoulder hurt when Paxton came in, he looked like a deer in the headlights. He had no time to really step back in the pocket and pass. But luckily, Paxton Lynch is a much more mobile quarterback, but he ran for his life the entire game against Beasley and the Falcons. That was one game kind of similar to this matchup between New Orleans and Denver. Like, everyone's expecting, Denver's just going to plow through, very low, like the not very good defensively as far as like your passing defenses and your rushing defense. But you see where the Falcons got it done because they were able to find the weakness and go at it. I think the Saints can do almost something similar. So I think it's going to be a much closer contest for sure.
Well, a month ago, a lot of people would have told you that this New Orleans would not have had the defense to even compete in this contest. But at this point, at least from the beginning of the season to now, I have this thought process that says that our offensive line is so far overachieving to this point that that's directly affected our win total up to now.
Yeah.
At the same time, while you relish having a weapon like Drew Brees as a part of your arsenal, I don't necessarily I don't want to say that I don't like being in that position. I don't like having to rely on every week Drew Brees having to supersede all expectations just to give you a chance to be in the ball game. Now that could be true for every game that we've played this year. There's only been, out of 4 losses this year, there's only been one game that we've been completely blown out of, and that was the Monday night game against Atlanta. We've been within one strike of I'm correct in that, aren't I? Every other game we've been within one score of
both the Oakland and Giants game, we had a chance to win that game. We went in either with the lead or tied and had an opportunity to win the game. And then, of course, the Kansas City game, we had 2 key turnovers, Drew Brees' pick 6 and Mark Ingram's fumble. And that was the difference in that ball game. So, of the 4 losses they have, the 3 of them were games that were very winnable. We played well enough to win. We just didn't. it can be argued, of course, in the San Diego game, that was kind of a stolen game. We forced, 3 turnovers in the last, 4 minutes of the game to pull that one out. But regardless, we could easily have been, I don't know, 7-2, I'm sorry, 7-1 or something to that effect. If we get a couple breaks our way, and that's despite all the injuries. So, how do you see, Brandon, how do you see this game playing out then, given the Saints seem to be a team on the rise and Denver seems to be a team that is kind of falling back a bit and trying to regain its footing?
Like I said, it's going to be a very close one. It's all going to depend on who can strike first, to be honest with you. I feel like the weakness that Denver has with the running game, that if Mark Ingram or Tim Hightower gets going early and establishes that, that's what we had a problem with Oakland. We weren't on the field long enough because they were running us into the ground completely. You can't do a passing defense that's number 1 in the league if you're running on us the entire time. So that's one of those things where they looked at the corner. They're like, there's no way we're throwing that. So you see where Derek Carr, he didn't get a passing touchdown, but he did get him in striking distance. So there was a lot of those cut unders, which Michael Thomas is fantastic at, and as well as Willie Snead. Brandon Cooks is your burner. So, Brandon Cooks, for those that are listening, for fantasy purposes, you would temper the expectations on Brandon Cooks, even though I have to play him against Denver. It is what it is. But at the same time, you have those under the hooks. You have Snead doing you're across the field. You have your slants that are available. Michael Thomas can get up and go. The kid's fast. But the ground game is really what's going to determine. Same thing on the other side. Denver has their offense really goes when the running game goes. So if Capri Bibbs or Devontae Booker can get up early and often and get there and keep the first downs and stay on the field, then Simeon will settle down a little bit. Usually he finds his rhythm as a game manager. He'll look for DT. He'll look for our Emmanuel Sanders there in the slot to definitely look to try to go over one of the defenders and go for it, because like I said, there is that opportunity where the passing defense of the New Orleans Saints hasn't been the greatest, has it been in the past, but it's really going to see who's going to strike first and who's going to figure each other out in the first 2 quarters, I think, for sure.
Okay, so make your prediction then. What do you think the final score would be? And it's perfectly acceptable to be a homer. We allow that.
We allow that.
Well, I'm going to defend my Broncos. No, I love the New Orleans Saints. I respect the heck out of them. Great team. But, I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos. They usually fight back pretty well when they are down and the QX sees the opportunity to improve. Usually there's a big difference the next game. So I'm going to say, something along the lines like it's going to be closer than we think it is. I'm going to say something weird like 31-21. I think it's going to be much more high scoring than people think. I don't think Denver's completely going to shut them down just because of the rise of Michael Thomas and how well Drew Brees is performing currently right now. So it'll be a close one.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's going to be a close game too, because the defense, although it's getting better, it's still bleeding a lot of points. It gives up a lot of big plays, and I can see Sanders making a couple big receptions on us. Denver's got too many weapons on offense, especially in the passing game, where they can do something. It's just going to be a question of, do the Saints continue this balanced attack they've been doing? Like you said, running Ingram, running Hightower, getting the yardage, and keeping us on schedule, not behind on down and distance. If that's the case,
see, that's what I think. You just said a mouthful there, Alan. I think that the major determining factor in that is how long the Saints stick with that. Because if past experience is any indication, just as quickly as Sean Payton has put the ball on the ground with Ingram and Hightower, just as quickly he can wake up on the other side of the bed and all of a sudden Drew Brees is throwing it 60 times a game.
Well, to me, it's always about down and distance. Always falling behind. Does Zach Strief have a hard time handling Von Miller? Von Miller is going after quarterback, and he's got to hold him to keep Drew Brees clean. Now we're suddenly playing 2nd and 20. 2nd and 25, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now we're going to start airing the ball out and can't run the football.
Yeah.
But if we're consistently getting 4 and 5 yards a carry, and it's now 3rd and 6, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 2, it becomes more effective. And I still think they're going to take the shots. I think you're going to see you're going to get some points from Brandon Cooks this weekend. I think you're going to see at least one go shot to the shot plays, he likes to call it a go route, where you see Cooks just totally light up that secondary on a quick slant or a bomb from midfield, whatever. And
especially if that secondary is down a starter such as Talib.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
There's probably no quarterback in the league that's going to take stock in your lineup every single play any more than Drew Brees will. And when you're down a player, he's going to take note of that and take advantage of that.
The Saints are all about matchups. They're going to try and isolate whoever the weakest link is in that secondary. They're going to try and put Cooks or Thomas on that guy, or Fleener. And you're going to see someone attack that. So I guess the last question, then we'll play a fantasy game since since you're a fantasy football guru. I'm going to ask you first. I'm going to ask you, who would you pick or who would you play out of this game this weekend? Who, if guys that have Saints players, guys that have Broncos players, who would you play? And let me show you this real quick. Give you an idea. I've been playing fantasy football. This is my first year not playing.
Dun, dun, dun.
I've been playing fantasy football since about 1993. No cough. This one here, this magazine here, is my oldest surviving fantasy football magazine from 1994. The quarterbacks they recommend you play are like Steve Young.
Brandon, that was probably the year you were born, wasn't it, Brandon?
Yeah, probably.
No, I was born in '84. I was 10, but I was not playing fantasy then. However, if I could or I knew about it, I probably would, because I would start Emmitt Smith in a heartbeat.
Well, Emmitt Smith, they actually tell you, depends on the matchup. Rodney Hampton at some point was a better play than Emmitt Smith because old Moose used to vulture touchdowns. Of course, that wasn't a turn back then, but he would steal some touchdowns from Emmitt Smith. So,
TD vultures.
Yep. So, anyway, who would be your plays then this weekend out of the Saints-Broncos game? Do you think this is going to be one of those fantasy football bonanzas that, hey, you got to play Breeze, you got to play this guy, you got to play this guy, because you're going to get a lot of points?
Definitely, you can't sit Drew Brees. I mean, he is a start every single week in your lineups. He is going up against a very, very strong cornerbacks and the secondary that we have there, but he's a must start because you don't sit Drew Brees. I'm sorry, that's why you drafted him so high. You must play him. Also on the same coin, Brandon Cooks, you drafted him high in the first probably couple 3 rounds, so you have to play him, and hoping that Talib is still out for that year or for that week, and so that he can Cooks can take care of that advantage. Broncos side, you're going to have a lot more favorable matchups. So, of course, your Demaryius Thomas's, Emmanuel Sanders, especially Emmanuel. He's got the quick speed like Brandon Cooks. If he can find a gap in the secondary or they're slacking on coverage, he's going to make them pay. And Simeon's going to look for it. He likes to go right over the top of his shoulder, too, so he likes to drop it right in on there as well. So be careful of the splash plays. The running situation on the other side, on the Saints, you got to play Mark Ingram. You got to play Tim Hightower. They're sharing the load now, and both of them got touchdowns, and they proved that they can run. Denver, like I said, is struggling. So if you are wary of the wide receivers or even Drew Brees, you can be more assured of Mark Ingram. He has to be careful of those drops and those fumbles. But I think being benched taught him a valuable lesson. I don't think he's going to want to lose his spot again because Hightower's already into it. So got to play those two. Look for my sleeper pick, Kabri Bibbs, the youngster that is now came from the practice squad that is going to get the opportunity to face the Saints. If he can run on the Saints, he might have a shot to surpass, or I could say in Game of Thrones terms, usurper Devontae Booker, and now take his throne. And because C.J. Anderson, he's out for 12 weeks, so unless we're in the playoffs, you're not going to see C.J. Anderson the rest of the year. He's definitely on IR, so pay attention to these guys. Sit Simeon, sit back and wait. Only play him if you got to. So.
As long as he doesn't play this week, I don't care what he does next week.
Well, I'm not wearing the white suit. I'm not wearing the black tie. So this is Fantasy Island, but I'm not going to be Mr. Rourke here. But I appreciate the fantasy advice.
No problem.
Brandon, let everybody know where they can find you, so they can ask you fantasy questions, especially those last-minute decisions they have to make when you have to start and sit guys because of injury or bye weeks. Where can they follow you?
Definitely, Twitter's the main one to find me at. I'm at Brandon T. Sanders. That's where you can find my articles with the fantasy footballers. Like I said, we do daily fantasy sports. So me and a good buddy, Ben Cummins, we both do the FanDuel lineup. So if you're big on trying to win you some cash or just wanting to brag of your friends that you beat them for that week, definitely hit us up. You can also find me on Facebook. I'm at Brandon Sanders. You'll find me there. I usually just post articles or random stuff. So if you just want to get to know me as a person and randomly ask me questions about fantasy, I'm cool with that too. But you get to see me and my goofy self all the time on there. But yeah, definitely Facebook or at Brandon T. Sanders on Twitter. That's definitely where to reach me at for sure.
All right. Well, thank you, Brandon, for joining us. I appreciate all the advice, and I appreciate the breakdown of the Broncos. And hopefully we get some people. I know my son will probably have someone who asked the question earlier. My son will probably track you down and ask you for some last-minute fantasy advice. So,
yep, definitely hit me up. Sunday morning is a good time to reach me, so let me know.
Good deal.
Brandon, thanks a lot for being a part of what we're doing, man.
Man, it's been a pleasure. I look forward to maybe being back on maybe another matchup or another time.
Absolutely.
I look forward to it, brother.
All right.
Thank you, man.
Soon, you guys. No problem. You guys have a good night.
Good night.
You too, man. Okay.
Well, I'm getting little updates on my iPad as we're going through, trying to avoid as much as we can. Let's talk about the 49ers.
I want to tell everybody, just as a full disclosure thing, I'm new to following the live chat on the YouTube. I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to and John Pinto, I thank you so much for pointing out that my forehead is very shiny too.
Okay, so we gotta get Michelle with the makeup, right? That's what we gotta do. Gotta dull that a little bit.
Yeah, I made a comment earlier that my forehead went like from the middle of the screen all the way to the top, and John, in his helpful manner, he's on payroll. Basically, he's on staff, and he pointed out that my forehead is very shiny too.
What payroll?
I can't thank. Hey, we don't discuss company business on.
Yeah. Okay, I got you now. Working for free.
Look,
Man,
as far as the Saints and the Broncos, I think it. Like I said, 3 weeks ago, this game just really was kind of sort of an afterthought. I mean, it wasn't something that Saints fans realistically were looking at as.
Well, no. I mean, you're looking at the defending world champs, especially the way they started out this season. You're assuming, okay, that's probably going to be one of the losses they get for the year, just because we don't match up well with this team. And now you've seen, especially when Oakland beating them this past weekend. Now, granted, it's a divisional game. In divisional games, you always throw out the records and that stuff.
Yeah.
But you really seen a lot of cracks in the Bronco armor. The defense does not look as intimidating as it did in the past. And
the past two games that I want to say
exactly.
The last 2 weeks I've watched the Broncos play, and they have looked very beatable. I mean,
right.
nothing against the Broncos. I call them as I see them. But
even though they beat the Buccaneers, they didn't look dominant. In the beginning of the season, they looked flawless. Then you see the Atlanta game. They didn't look good then. Now Paxton Lynch was starting. So I kind of dismissed it as saying, okay, that's a rookie playing against a defense that's really prepared for him.
I think it's sort of intriguing that with such an quote unquote overwhelming defense as what Denver has, and anytime you hear anybody talk about the Broncos, that's always the first thing out of their mouth is the defense, the defense, the defense. Von Miller. And look, guys, I get it. Denver's defense is top notch, and I take absolutely nothing away from them. And I do not in any way disrespect those guys. But this is professional football. You got to have somewhat of a balanced attack. You have to have a reasonable amount of quarterback play on the other side of the ball from that dominating defense to win games.
Right. And what we've seen now for the past, even the Kansas City game, is the Saints are more committed to running the football, and they're getting success out of it. I thought the 49ers game, Jari Evans had morphed back to the 2009, 2011 era Jari Evans. I mean, he was wiping people out. On that 75-yard run for Mark Ingram, you watch Evans kick that block out, and there was a hole, huge, and no one touched Ingram until he's 45 to 50 yards down the field.
And that's been a lot of this season. I mean,
right.
Jari Evans that we signed as basically a cast off from the Seattle Seahawks as a last-minute replacement player coming out of training camp. The Jari Evans that we signed, in terms of sort of somewhat of a parallel, the Jari Evans that we signed coming back is kind of like with Roman Harper. The Roman Harper that we brought back is not the Roman Harper that we sent to Carolina. The Jari Evans that we signed ain't the Jari Evans that we cut last year.
Right.
Does that make sense?
He's healthier. I mean, he is not the elite Pro Bowl tackle guard that he used to be, but he is still a very good guard when he's healthy. And what you've got right now is you actually have a very healthy Jari Evans. He doesn't have the elbow injuries. He doesn't have the knee injuries. He doesn't have the abdominal injuries. All the things that were holding him back in 2014, 2015, and made his play look worse. He is actually playing very well, and it's helped Strief, who has always been, I shouldn't say always, but has for the most of his career has been good enough. He does handle speed rushes well, but he is a good enough blocker that when he gets a chip to help him out with a speed rusher, he can perform. Now, Strief last year was injured as well, but the two of them together have actually solidified that left side, that right side of the line. And you're seeing also this growth if you've noticed now, people won't talk about Andre Pete anymore as a bust. You're seeing a growth in Pete as a guard. He is playing much better as a guard. He is leveling people. He is getting to that second level as a guard, being on that left side, whereas on the right side, he's not a good fit.
There's nothing that promotes this offensive lineman's play like the good play of someone on the other side.
Right. And Pete played left tackle this past week because Armstead was only in for a couple plays, and then he went back to the sideline with a bad knee. That's going to be a concern for a while. We have to see if Armstead, after this season, can come back and be that elite tackle that we're paying him to be, and he's capable of being. But in the meantime, the offensive line does not look as bad as it looked, obviously, in preseason, and it's not the concern it used to be. And because of that, and because they're seeing on the schedule, we are now seeing a running game develop. And we're seeing a more consistent running game. And I think that's going to be the key, once again, to beating the Denver run the ball. Make I keep wanting to call him Andre Ware. It's not Andre Ware. DeMarcus Ware. Andre Ware was a quarterback. DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller basically, impotent because they're keyed to rush the passer. And if you're running the ball on them, that defense is built to rush the passer. And if you're getting 4 and 5 yards a carry, it makes you that much more, effective against them because now the play action will hold them. It's now you're going to buy more time because they're going to have to keep people, drop people back in the secondary. And with Aqib Talib cannot be there to shut down whoever he's assigned to, whether it's Michael Thomas or Brandon Cooks or whoever. You've seen a more diversified passing attack. Breeze has time to pick you apart, and they're going to be patient. They're going to hit you underneath, and get down the field and just keep moving those chains. It makes for a very good Saints offense.
And that brings to mind something that I was going to ask you on air this week. We're halfway through the season now, 4-4, won 4 of the last 5, right?
Yeah, 4 of the last 5.
Okay. What is the overriding storylines to you in the first half of the season so far?
Breeze at 37 is playing like a 30-year-old. He is still an elite quarterback. It's almost shocking in the fact that, throwing for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a completion rate of, 70%, 75% ho-hum, whereas
it's an afterthought.
Yeah. I mean, that's shocking. The offensive line that we've talked about already, that is a storyline that, no one predicted, especially given the way they played in the preseason.
That would be, for me at least, that would be probably the biggest overriding storyline over the first half of the season is the fact that the absolute pandalirium, to use a Jeff Foxworthy term, the pandalirium over what this season was looking like coming out of training camp in terms of the offensive line play, as opposed to 8 weeks late or 9 weeks later now, what our offensive line play has turned into being. I can't overemphasize just exactly how much those guys are absolute pros, and they've not only met the challenge, but they've so overcome that challenge.
Well, and this fits right into the last part of the storyline, which I think is so important, is the discovery of balance in the offense.
Sure.
We've gone from, I think it was a Giants game, they attempted 9 rushes, or maybe it was the Raiders game. Early on in the season, Ingram was not seeing the football at all. And then when you look at a game like the Atlanta game where he started getting a lot of yardage off of draws, and the evolution becoming more of a running oriented team. Because after the Kansas City game, people all talk about trading Mark Ingram, getting rid of Mark Ingram, just cutting him outright, starting Hightower over him. Even when we were 0-3, sucking for Fournette, that was a common theme. And people saying, why would you draft Leonard Fournette? Sean Payton doesn't like to run the football. And here we are. We're seeing, even though Breeze is still on track to throw for over 5,000 yards yet again, we're on track to have 2,000-yard receivers yet again. We are now seeing this running game coming. So it's not inconceivable that you're going to have 2 running backs, 800, 900 yards rushing, if we can stay on this pace. So it's an evolution to a more complete offense that we have not seen these past 3 or 4 years.
I think that's very well put. And we all know. You go back to 2009. I don't have the statistics on me at the moment, but the balance that offense had on that Super Bowl run was obviously much better than what we're looking at right now. But
it was a different kind of balance. But go ahead.
I think that the best thing this sounds kind of off a little bit, but the best thing that happened for the Saints offense in the past 3 weeks was 2 Mark Ingram fumbles, because he came out Sunday against. Now, at the same time, you got to take things in context.
Sure.
This is San Francisco. This ain't the Denver Broncos defense that you're running against. But at the same time, you have to allow the fact that 2 weeks ago, it was the Seattle Seahawks defense, which is, if I'm not mistaken, still one of the most respected defenses in the league. And Ingram put up reasonable numbers on them as well. But my point being, the best thing that happened for this offense in the past 2 weeks is Ingram fumbling twice, making him mad, putting Sean Payton putting him in a corner and saying, "Okay, you want out of that corner, you're going to have to prove yourself to me."
Right.
And
right.
we saw Sunday, and see that while that leads to why I'm so proud of Ingram, at the same time it has a lot to do with why I'm so frustrated with Ingram, because you see Ingram in a contract year, he is less than 100 yards from 1,000 yards for the season. You see Ingram screw up and get put in the doghouse, and he comes out for what, 160?
Yeah, and like you said, it's given who he's playing against too. The 49ers were averaging 181 yards rushing a game they were giving up. So, but I found that when Chris Ivory was still on the team, Ivory pushed Ingram to play harder. He needs to be pushed a lot. He needs to be pushed to get him to play. And I think Hightower being there, it's a friendly competition. I mean, he doesn't sure. resent it, but he needs to have that back pushing him constantly to do more. Hey, I can pick up the yards.
One of the things I'm most proud of, as far as quote unquote my team, and make no mistake about it, when this team plays on TV on Sunday and the camera goes on that New Orleans Saints sidelines, I'm sitting here just like this going, yeah, that's my team. One of the things I'm most proud of is when Ingram made that 60, 70, whatever yard run that he made Sunday, the first
75.
The first person to greet him on the sidelines was Tim Hightower.
And the next person saw him was the sound guy from Fox Television, where you got to listen to what he had to
say. Yeah.
Most people say amen after a prayer. Apparently, Ingram's God gets the N word. I don't know.
Yeah. But I was told that the NFL.
I've got a clip.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
The NFL took it off the air when they realized what he had said. But once it's on the
that's
internet,
what I was about to say.
It's there forever.
You got to allow some exuberance.
Right. Well, it was so funny because you couldn't hear him until he walked right in front of the plastic dome, and then it was clear as a bell. So it was a classic moment. I had to laugh. And I was in a sports bar when he said it. And we were talking about the balance before, and the thing about the 2009, 2011 Saints teams, the way they achieved that balance was they jump on you early. You got that wave of 28 points. It's kind of like what we saw against San Francisco. You get 28 points, 31 points. They almost always lost a toss in 2011. So the other team would take the ball. The Saints would score in the last 2 minutes of the half. Then they get the ball at the beginning of the second half. They come right down the field and score again. So a team that was maybe down by 10 is now down by 17.
Yeah.
And the 2009 team would get a turnover after that, and then that it would start building. And while that team is passing to win, the Saints start pounding the ball on you. They bring in Mike Bell, fresh off the bench, hasn't run all game. Now you have this fresh back coming in the third and fourth quarter, and he's pounding you. He is coming out of that hole like a man possessed, and he is hitting you as hard as he can, and the defense is tired. So it's a different kind of balance. What we're seeing early from this team now is we're running the ball. We're getting success early running the ball, and we're going to keep running the ball.
Yeah.
And last week, in fact, you noticed Ingram and Hightower alternating series. Ingram drive, then a Hightower drive. And I think you're going to see a lot more of this as long as they stay on schedule. We have not seen, and knock on fiberboard here, we have not seen we have not seen that holding call. Saints are now second and 20, or up. Breeze through an incompletion or a sack, so it's third and 15. We haven't seen those plays happen, and that's the big difference.
You bring up a very relevant point that needs to be made. Over these past 2-week run that things have looked so positive. There's been no interceptions. The fumbles have been at a minimum. The penalties, the stupid, mind-blowing penalties, the offsides, the whatever, those have been held to a minimum.
Yeah.
The mental mistakes have been kept to a bare minimum. Now, as long as they do that, they keep themselves in any ball game that they're in.
Yeah. Because
you go up against the Denver Broncos, the defending Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos, you go up against them with a +4 turnover ratio, you're going to win that game.
Absolutely. Well, that kind of brings me to my extra point. We've talked about this before, but the big, once again, we had a horribly officiated game on Monday Night Football. Richard Sherman basically takes the kicker out, and no calls made. The officials totally blow it. They call, I think, Buffalo for illegal formation or a false start or something, and they go back 5 yards, kick it again, and this time they miss it. And it's what people, I don't think people paid much attention. I kind of have, but people didn't pay much attention when the officials went on strike in 2012.
Yeah.
And you had the replacement officials in, and you had, all the mistakes they made. I think I've talked about this before, but you saw a wave of retirement or pushing out of a lot of officials. Yeah, Ed Guns Hockley is still there. But for the most part, most of the officials that you're seeing now, you're not seeing, the Mike Carey's. You're not seeing the guy, Jeff Triplett, I think, may still be there. I'm not sure. But you're not seeing a lot of the officials you saw a lot of years in a row. You're seeing much younger officials who aren't used to calling certain things. And I think teams are taking advantage of it, and you're getting either sloppy games where obvious calls are missed, or you're getting penalty fests where 30 flags are thrown in a game, like the Raiders-Tampa game. It's
no middle ground.
No, and we talked about this before, my rant before. The call is such a judgment call that I think plays into part of the reason why ratings are down and people are frustrated with the NFL, because it's like, oh, you're calling that when a guy barely touches the helmet or gets pushed into somebody's leg, but you're missing an obvious pass interference call, or you're letting a kicker get killed. People just are frustrated with the officiating of the game. They feel like the game is never played fairly because the officiating is so bad. And Sean Payton called for professional officials, full-time staffers. I think they need to go to that. I think these guys need to call both, go to officiating school and learn the rules, be part of the rules committee, and become better officials where they look at film all the time instead of it being a part-time gig. And I think until they fix the officiating problem, you're going to continue to see the ratings drop.
Can't argue with that a bit. I don't particularly pay much mind to this continued thing that seems to be such a narrative this year for some reason. All of a sudden, the ratings are down. You know, you're here this year. The ratings are what they are. You're gonna be here next year. You're gonna be here the year after that. If you got one person watching, you're still gonna put your product on air, are you not? What are you worried
Well,
about the ratings for?
well, I can only say in the past few years, the NFL has always been going up. It's always become more and more
Yeah.
popular. This is the first year where they're
Yeah.
really seeing a significant drop, not just oh, it's a blip, and I think also crappy games being on national television, overexposure
Yeah.
of games.
Yeah.
What do we play on Thursday night? You have the Ravens and the Browns. I think I'd rather have a root canal than sit and watch that game. 2 weeks ago we had the Spocks against the Captain Kirks, that color rush jersey thing where you had the Titans against the Jaguars, and the Jaguars basically quit in that game. Yeah, so I mean,
I ain't touching that, brother.
Oh, this is why I hate the fact that Nike has the jersey. I want Reebok back. Please come back, Reebok, because Nike thinks everybody wants to be Oregon. We'll give you a different uniform every week. And you know what? I don't want that. The color rush. We're gonna get the color rush this coming week
It
from
makes
Thursday.
my eyes hurt, man.
Well, the Saints are going to resemble the Saints are going to resemble their 1975 uniforms. It'll be the first time they wear white pants since 1985. The first time they'll wear white pants. Yeah, the white jerseys and white pants. The last time they wore the all-white combination was 1975. That was the only year they ever did that. They wore gold pants from 67 to 74. 75, they went to the all-white. And then from 76 to 85, when Meekum sold the team, they wore white pants and black jerseys at home, and they wore white jerseys and black pants on the road. And then Tom Benson brought back the gold pants, but they were shiny gold pants, and they wore that combination until 1998, when Mike Dicker brought back the black pants, and he had these huge gold stripes on the side, and and they tried in '96 with the gold numbers. They brought the gold numbers back with the white jerseys. And the league complained they couldn't see them. They couldn't read the numbers, couldn't read the name on TV. So they tried to go with a black background on the number to try and make it easier to read. They just gave up. They just left the gold jerseys on the gold numbers on the black jerseys. And these jerseys here were only worn once. These gold jerseys were only worn once in 2002 against the Minnesota Vikings. And Tom Benson so hated them that they auctioned them off the day after the game was played, and they never worn the gold jerseys again.
Wow.
And that's your fashion history. That's your fashion.
Okay, well, I guess that brings me to my quick extra point this week.
Hey, keep going, because I don't want to see the election results. Keep going.
Well, hey, I would love to hang out with you guys for till I couldn't go any longer. I really would. Which brings me basically, since Alan took my extra point.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. You're right.
My extra point this week is for all of the people. Tonight is our 18th. Well, actually, considering our our preseason show our 2-hour extravaganza that we did the day before the season started. This is our 19th show. We started basically with graph paper and came up with a logo and a format, and Alan and I got together and we developed a concept, and we've kind of turned that into something that has become a very, very meaningful part of my week every week on Tuesday nights. And the only way that that's possible is with you guys being there for us and having a use for us to keep continually coming on every Tuesday night. And we thank you so much for that. You have no idea how much it means to me that you guys keep coming back and listening to us, and we thank you so much for that, and we look forward to carrying on. Thank you for your continued support.
Absolutely, absolutely. Without you guys, we're just talking to ourselves, and while that makes for very entertaining, behavior, it gets boring because you shouldn't be answering yourself, because then you have to be locked away. And in my best Jack Nicholson voice, go so crazy somewhere else. We're all full up here. That's for you, John Pinto. That's for you, John Pinto. Yes, thank you all very much for watching this. And
John loves the movie references.
Oh, absolutely. I keep promising I'm going to do more and more, and I forget until the end of the show. I'm trying to find a good place to put a good one in. I mean, I was going to tell them that Fat, Drunk, and Stupid is no way to go through life, son, but it sure makes it a lot more interesting. But my last point before we get off the air is, in previous years, the Saints, it took a lot of energy for the Saints to get to 4-4. In my memory feed on Facebook, I talk about how, in 2008, the Saints fought their way back to be 4-4 after an 0-3 or an 0-4 start, and then got handled by a 0-8 team with the St. Louis Rams. Sorry, they were still the St. Louis Rams. And in previous years, we've also seen this pattern come where they get to that 500 mark and then they go on a 2 or 3 game losing streak. Yeah. This team is not those teams. I'm seeing a lot more energy, excitement, more of a team concept out of this team. Now, I don't think if they make the playoffs, they're not going to go on a deep run. I don't know if they'll even make the playoffs, but I see a lot of positives out of this team. I think if we can get to 10-6, which is a huge get to 10-6, that would be a hell of a season for a team that started out 0-3 with as many injuries as we've had and as many rookies as you've got and undrafted free agents starting in key positions that you've got. This is a fun team. I like this team a lot. I thought last year's team was the least talented Saints team that Sean Payton has ever had. I think this team is a much, much better team, much more fun team to watch, a team that will always give you a chance to win. And you can't ask for much more. Yes, I'd like to win them all. Yes, I like for Drew Brees to be in the MVP conversation instead of hearing about Matt Ryan. But this is a team that every game now, from this point forward, including this Denver game, we have a very good chance of winning.
Sure.
If we don't beat ourselves, we should win these every game in the rest of the season. You couldn't say that 5 weeks ago. You certainly weren't going to say that. You were talking more about, the New Orleans Saints are now on the clock. That was more of your attitude. So, and I think people should look forward to that. I think that's what people should focus on. This is a fun team with good players that's very enjoyable to watch. And as long as they keep doing this, these shows are fun to do.
I'll be honest with you. I don't I have absolutely zero interest right now in talking about playoffs. I I don't care about
Draft picks,
playoffs.
anything. I don't want to talk about. Yeah, I want to focus on this team and see how they mature. And
right now, I'm worried about beating Denver, and
yep,
when that game's over, I'm worried about beating Carolina.
Absolutely.
Whatever happens from that point on will take care of itself.
Right.
I'm not worried about being a playoff team. I'm not worried about being a Super Bowl team. I'm not worried about any of that stuff. That stuff will see to itself. Right now, this team needs to concentrate on being the best team that it can be, the way that it has over the past 5 weeks. And you see where that has gotten this team to.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least
absolutely.
in my opinion, anyway.
Absolutely, and that makes all the difference in the world. And it's a fun team to watch, and I'm enjoying these games, especially this winning streak. So we'll see how
Absolutely.
it goes. Let's see how it goes this Sunday. I think the Saints have a great chance of winning. I don't think it'll be, once again, a close game. I don't think this is going to be a game that's that will be a cakewalk for the Saints, no matter what they do. I don't think any game will be, but I think they have a great chance of winning. And if we keep playing balanced football, don't put the ball on the ground, don't throw interceptions, we should win this game. I'm going to predict, I don't know, 41-37, some kind of score like that. I think that's the kind of game it'll be. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
I think that what I mentioned earlier with Brandon, everything that I've heard from the talking heads seems to say that if the Saints can continue their pattern of scoring 30 to 40 points a game and find a way to limit Denver to 20 to 25 points a game, that will be very much in their favor. I would like to it. Right now, I have never felt so positive that New Orleans could beat Denver as I do at this moment. It's really odd that Denver is trending down and New Orleans is trending up at such a time to make this, like I said earlier, like I iterated at earlier, this game suddenly seems to be a lot more interesting than it was a month ago because one team is trending down and the other team seems to be trending up. I really think that the margin, there again, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, the margin for error is going to be slim to none for the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to take care of business. But, I mean, the past 2 weeks they've done that. If they can continue to do that, the future's wide open.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll see how it goes this Sunday. I think it's going to be a good game. All right, guys. Thank you all for being patient with us. We kind of went over a little bit tonight, but I don't mind because after this, I'm going to watch the movie Midway because I'm a World War II buff. So
absolutely.
As always, follow us. We'll be back here, same bat time, same bat channel next Tuesday night. And hopefully we're talking about another Saints win, another great game for Michael Thomas, Drew Brees, Mark Ingram, Tim Hightower, the whole group. Maybe we'll have a new hero. Maybe Devin Breaux gets a pick six, or Sheldon Rankins gets a sack fumble. That'd be great. So,
yeah, that would be.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you guys so much.
Damn it. This is not an iPad.